Thank you, Deputy Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure in joining you for this panel, not least because I believe this is a conversation that has been maturing for a number of years in national capitals, but also in the context of development policy and international financing. The adoption of Agenda 2030, the SDGs, the Paris Agreement, and Addis Ababa as a summit also on financing for development, I think showed to all of us that there is a series of disconnects here. On the one hand, we are talking about a world in which access to finance is still immensely unequal, and yet we have all signed up to Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. Secondly, we have laid before the world a set of commitments and also pathways to change that fall nothing short of fundamental transformation in our economies, our energy systems, our production systems, but also in the way that our economy can deliver not just in the public policy sphere, but in the economy as a whole for our societies. And the SDGs have put a spotlight on a market failure, if you want to call it that, or a lack of alignment between those policy objectives we set for ourselves in developmental terms in each of our countries and as an international community, with where the financial system and the financial markets are focused on today. Our challenge is to recognize that we have to bring two global conversations together. One is about the international economic and financial policies, and by extension, the national space for policy making that is focused on economic development, on growth. And secondly, a conversation about securing the public and private finance, including ODA, but also many domestic financial resources that currently are not being deployed in a developmental context to achieve the SDGs. To work towards a global strategy that can look at an alignment between the incentives that a financial system has to invest in an SDG-oriented agenda and long-term economic development prospects, including a fair globalization agenda, have now become an imperative, as you heard both the SG and the DSG speak to this morning. As UN Development System, I'm delighted that we're having this conversation here because it is long overdue, and I'm delighted also that we are coming together with member states, but also with actors in the financial sector, to overcome this notion that somehow we are entrapped in a world that can only function in this particular way. Our challenge right now is to understand that the SDGs are in fact something that is not only relevant, but actually an immense opportunity also for financial markets and those who administer and look after our funds. And I think sometimes it bears reminding ourselves that the bank accounts, the pension funds, are in fact not institutional money, they are our money. Finding a way in which we can look at the SDGs to be part of an agenda that actually de-risks the future of investment is one way in which we can combine these objectives, because that's what the SDGs ultimately do. They provide a view of the future economy, of future markets, of future consumers and producers, and many avenues to reduce the risks, whether they are political, financial, economic, or environmental. And therefore, it is my great pleasure to very much join in the leadership of the SG and the DSG in saying we as UN institutions, together also with the Under-Secretary General leading the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, we are part of both the capacity and also the convening power and ultimately the service. And this is something that I take particularly seriously in terms of UNDP's role with a country focus alongside national governments to look at how on earth are we going to finance these agendas. And the private sector, the financial markets, the financial system cannot stand on the sidelines. It has to be part of it, and governments have to develop the approaches that will incentivize that engagement. Thank you very much.